Hello and welcome to Love My Poland. I get tons of emails on my channel from people across the globe asking me, Russell, what should I see and do in Poland on my first trip over? One of the first things I recommend is taking a trip to the Kraków Old Town and the nearby Wieliczka, little town of Wieliczka, for an amazing journey, hundreds of feet underground, to an incredible world where virtually everything, and I mean everything, is made out of salt. Today we've just completed our trip. We came back, we went early this morning. It was the first time for my kids and it was my third time. And in terms of my kids, it's tough to keep them focused for more than 10 minutes, but this tour and the guide kept them engaged the whole time. And I have to tell you, the tour has gotten better and better over the years. If you're wondering about the price, it's really reasonable for the amount of time you'll spend on the tour with your guide. For my family of 5 people, we paid around 200 zloty, or about $50 in total. However, from start to finish, be ready for a continuous walk that took us well over 2 hours, but you will see and learn everything you need to know about this salt mine. And speaking of the guides again, they are magnificent. I don't know where they find these guys. They're so knowledgeable, and you've got tours in a variety of languages. The first 2 times I went, I admit I took it in English. This was the first time I did it in Polish, and that was fascinating. Well, enough talk. Let's get back to the salt mine. I've got so much video to share with you, and I will also share my personal top 10 favorite aspects about the trip. Here we go. Okay, for point 1, we must begin with the fact that you are deep underground. The mine extends all the way down to 327 meters, or just over 1,000 feet. But most of the time, you're at a level of around 125 meters, or about 400 feet down. You'll know you're deep in the cave because you begin by walking all the way down in a dizzying journey of spiraling stairs. And those stairs don't seem to ever stop. It's an experience like no other. Point 2, it's amazing to consider just how old the salt mine is. Excavation of the site began all the way back in the 13th century. It's mind-boggling to think how much they were able to accomplish with the use of primitive tools and technology. They stopped officially mining salt for commercial sales back in 1996, but today, it's thriving as a marvelous tourist destination which has even been placed on the UNESCO list of World Heritage Sites. Point 3, I was impressed by the ease of the tour. The hallways you walk are a lot more spacious than you would imagine. Normally when you think of a mine, you think of tight, narrow, dirty, and dark passageways, but it's anything but. We were able to walk comfortably throughout. I'm rather tall at 6'3", and I never even once bumped my head anywhere. The original excavators of the mine were practical and used solutions to make their lives easier, like the little detail of painting the wooden walls of the passageways white to help lighten up the place. Genius. For the 4th point, you'll be surprised by just how salt-rich everything is down in the salt mine. Before going my first time, I pictured, a lot of earth and stone with just pieces of salt here and there. I thought mining salt meant searching long and hard for it, the way you would in mining coal or silver. But no, just run your fingers along the sides of the open spaces down there and you're touching salt. They had such an abundance of salt that they even created beautiful floors of salt. Our tour guide carried a bright flashlight and would often use it to light up the salt crystals in the floor. Just an outstanding experience. Moving on to point 5, if you're like me, you're likely to be really curious just to see how salty and flavor things are around you down there. Well, good news. There's an area where water is mixed with the salt to make brine. In fact, you'll learn that centuries ago, brine was transported up to the surface in liquid form for multiple uses. But interestingly, there's a sort of tasting pool available for anyone who would like to sample the saltiness. Warning though, it is extremely salty. It reminded me of the saltiness of the Dead Sea when I visited Israel years ago. Over to point 6, I was fascinated by the number of lifelike salt figurines the miners made. They paid such great attention to detail, and the sculptures have stood the test of time very well. One of the first things you'll learn on your tour concerns a legend about love, which is displayed beautifully by the life-size salt sculptures. I won't spoil the story here, I'll leave that for you to see and discover for yourselves. And staying on sculptures for point 7, I'd like to talk about 2 different Catholic chapels you'll discover down in the mine. My absolute favorite part of the salt mine tour is seeing the mine's largest Catholic chapel, which is called St. Kinga's Chapel. It is enormous. Just look at the vastness of it. Take note of the engravings in the walls. Words simply can't describe it. And I can't forget to point out the chandeliers. They are made of hundreds, if not thousands, of beautifully polished pieces of salt. Oh, and if you're wondering, yes, Catholic Mass still takes place here each Sunday, and you can even hold your wedding ceremony here. It is pricey though. To rent out the chapel for your wedding, you're going to need to come up with 6,000 zlotys or about $1,500. However, there's another smaller chapel if you don't have the money or need for such a large area. This other chapel is called the Wieliczka Salt Chapel and is a lot more friendly on the wallet. Holding a wedding here will cost just 1,500 zlotys or around $400. The eighth thing I'd like to share with you is the fact that when we arrived, it was -5 Celsius at the surface outdoors. However, surprisingly, it was a lovely +15 degrees Celsius deep within the mine. I kind of assumed it would be insanely cold down there during the winter, but it was just the opposite. The ninth point I'd like to share with you concerns the method the miners used to travel down to the mine and back up before the advent of the elevator or lift. This invention left me in total awe. They essentially all jumped on a giant rope with a sort of harness attached to it. They'd hold lanterns and just happily sing their way down to work. And that is actually one of the main takeaways for me after visiting 3 times. The way the miners made this area their own and left their own unique mark on the site. You really get the feel of the passion they had for their jobs as salt miners. Finally, for our 10th point, I have to mention how impressive and enticing the souvenir stand is. This one's just perfect. Not only is it elegant, but there's also such a wide range of cool items you can buy for really affordable prices. There's something for everybody. My kids fixed their eyes on a nice salt lamp that will serve as the perfect nightlight. The lamp only costs 47 zloty, or about $12. My wife and I bought a few jars of bath salts for a soothing and relaxing time in the tub. Well, thanks so much for watching today. I hope you get the chance to visit here. If you've been here before, what did I leave out? What more should my viewers know about the Wieliczka Salt Mine? I'm putting links in my description to read more about it. In my opinion, it should be in your top 5 things to see and do in Poland when you come here, and believe me, it's worth every grosz you spend on the tour. So thanks again, see you in the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe.